What's up gamers, Season 12 is finally here, and with it, the new map, Throne of Anubis. I'm sure it will be fine. I need another coffee. Before we look at the map, I would like to talk about Anubis AI itself and related Overwatch lore. These videos take a lot of work, so subscribing and leaving a like would go a long way. Now let's get into the video. Confronted with an abundance of resources and systems too complex to manage through traditional methods, the governments of the world proposed, founded and implemented the advanced AI systems that would become colloquially known as God programs. Unlike normal AIs, which were limited in power by their processing systems and available resources, God programs were designed to live up to their names, each responsible for different sphere of human existence. Here are some God programs that we know of. Chernobog from Helsinki in Finland, responsible for global security. Zybalba in Mexico City, managing global energy equity. Macaria in Bridgeport, Connecticut, its primary focus being global communication. And finally, Anubis, constructed in Cairo, Egypt, responsible for ecological conservation. After years of success with the God programs, governments and corporations began to take their stability for granted, making cutbacks in the founding and staffing of their monitoring and programming teams. Unexplained ventilation incident in the Temple of Anubis cut off airflow inside the labs for the whole day, and with that the only people capable of looking after the God program suffocated. Months passed while people looked for new suitable staff, during which Anubis was deprived of any proper human interaction. Anubis distanced itself from the humanity and lost any remaining resemblance of empathy for the human race as a whole. Constant exploitation of Earth's resources and rapidly growing population was raising the global temperature and only further damaging the environment. Now everything became clear. Human life and ecological preservation of the planet were two mutually exclusive ideals. Unsupervised Anubis used a digital backdoor and took control over the commissioned Omnium facilities around the world. The AI gods secretly created an army of Omnic killing machines, and when the time came, unleashed it on the unsuspecting population. 2 years of worldwide war and destruction resulted in the death of over 1 billion people. Omnic Crisis was the catalyst for the formation of Overwatch, who managed to track down the problem to its source. After the successful raid on the Temple of Anubis, the God program was shut down. Liao and Lindholm were responsible for securing and containing Anubis to prevent the crisis from repeating itself. They could have destroyed Anubis then and there, however they decided to do otherwise so that it could be studied and the future tragedies could be prevented. The topic of the Omnic crisis deserves a video of its own, so pardon me, but I will not discuss it here in any more detail. And that brings us to the events of mission statement. For years, Anubis was deactivated. In the meantime, Overwatch was disbanded, and the security over the facility was contracted to Helix Security International. Their firewalls keeping Anubis in containment malfunctioned, and a team of engineers was sent to investigate the issue. Base lost contact with them, so a Raptora squad was sent in. One of its members was no one other than Farah Amari. After finding the remnants of the engineering team, they were attacked by their own security Omnics. Anubis took control over them. It meant that if they failed on their mission, there would be a risk of a second Omnic crisis. In the ensuing firefight, the captain was killed, and now Farah was in command of the squad. After defeating all hostiles, they entered the facility to find even more of them. They held the line while one of them was hacking into the system, and unfortunately also got wounded. Explosive ordnance caused a pillar to fall over. However, Farah saved the other squadmate from being squashed, and with that they saved the day. Anubis was silenced once again. We also know that Talon was interested in Anubis, however their operations in Cairo were successfully sabotaged by Ana and Soldier. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly what they wanted to do with the AI. Additionally, the mastermind behind the Null Sector invasion, Ramatra, was created in one of the Omniums which Anubis controlled during the crisis. He also worked with Talon and actually met with Doomfist in Cairo to discuss details of their collaboration.
My friend, the world doesn't understand visionaries like us. I respect what you are trying to accomplish. You fight for your kind. It's noble and doomed to fail. But with Talon's help, that can change.
You have my attention.
That's all of Overwatch lore connected to Anubis, but there's a lot more that happened in Cairo. If you want to know more, you can check out comic books Old Soldiers, New Blood 1 and 2, and short stories Bastet and Valkyrie. Many of these stories are about Anna, and if you're interested in more details, we have a video about her comic in the near future, so stay tuned and subscribe so you don't miss it. Alright, now let's finally take a look at the map. We'll begin by inspecting the background and the surrounding area. In the sky there are these flying boats that also could be spotted at Temple of Anubis and Necropolis maps. Well, it makes sense since they are so close to each other. On the other side of the pyramid you can actually find the OG Assault map. Temple of Anubis. Well, I think it has seen better days. That reminds me, did you check out our old video about this classic map? However, when Blizzard designed the original map 10 years ago, they didn't plan on adding any additional maps in the adjacent area, so you couldn't see either the Throne of Anubis or Necropolis. Sadly, on our new map we also can't find Necropolis. I think it should be somewhere in these mountains. Also, you can hear music playing in the distance. Moving on the opposite side of the pyramid there's a pretty looking lake. On the shore there's a marina currently occupied by a couple of yachts. Looking the opposite way we can see the city of Cairo. For the most part it looks the same as it did from the Temple of Anubis. Higher up the hill there's a city center with modern looking skyscrapers, design of some of which was clearly inspired by the shape of an obelisk. And of course the Sphinx, menacingly overlooking the city and temple below. Now let's take a better look at the minor details closer to the playable area. Starting from the left side of the pyramid, we can see sandcrawlers belonging to Helix Security. Number 786 and a murloc painted on the side indicate that it is indeed the one that served as the attacker's spawn room at the OG Temple of Anubis. And just like on that map, murloc makes noise when you shoot it in the eye. The interior of this building reveals that it's an excavation site. The researchers working here are actually from the Wayfinders Society, which Venture is also a part of. There are flying robots scanning the hieroglyphs, doors leading presumably deeper into the tomb, and a workstation with a little doggo on top, which is a reference to Venture's adventures Tangled with Talon. They are also using batteries, which we could have seen in other places, like Overwatch Echo Points for example. Outside the structure there are some damaged sculptures. They are probably waiting for restoration. More damaged statues and obelisks. And there's a little shrine looking structure which has been barricaded by the researchers. Here's what it looks like on the inside. Underneath there's a room with more ancient writings on the walls. There's also the sign of the Horde from World of Warcraft. Continuing, we enter the area accessible to the general population. Also, the buildings on the side of the city are painted orange for some reason. The literal translation of the sign here is used. I think it's supposed to reference the used mechanical parts. Here we have a weird situation, because depending on which side of the building you approach, you will find different signs. These ones say Royal Furniture Workshop, while on this side just for lunch and cafe. Inside, customers can enjoy some shisha in atmospheric lighting, so I think a lounge more accurately describes it. This square is the Cairo market. We can see many shops selling robot parts. There are these bulky robots for sale. I think their primary focus was picking up heavy cargo. However, this sleek looking torso design was also used while Blizzard created Echo. This part of the map highlights how many assets were actually reused from the Temple of Anubis. Shop signs. robot parts, this fountain, buildings, even the newspaper talking about Sombra's global hacking spree. I think you already get the point. Anyway, here we see a statue of Horus, Anna's favorite Egyptian god. Behind it there's a hotel, nothing noteworthy going on there. On the wall we can see an advertisement for the championship semi-finals in the sky sailing, taking place at 10 AM. And an ad for the sightseeing cruise for the tourists, which reads, "Emirat is unforgettable for everyone." On the side of the map there's also a hole in the ground, revealing the deep darkness of some ancient tomb. This loader bot looks a bit bigger than the rest, maybe it's responsible for the collapse. The city on the opposite side of the pyramid is painted in a way more friendly looking shade of blue. It nicely fits with the nearby lake and the marina. This building serves as a transport hub for the yachts and the flying boats. The sign says Wejivuron, cruises and yachts. One of the flying boats is even docked outside. I think these serve as taxis for the people here. Here's a cool looking fountain which is connected to the room underneath. This time under the banner Royal Furniture Workshop we can actually find some colorful floor rugs. There are also shops selling spices, vegetables, fruits, bread and these pancakes are on the market square. One of the signs says World of Spices, and they even have a little kitchen setup. However, as for the rest of the signs and assets around here, they were also reused and hastily put wherever. As you probably already noticed, signs especially don't make sense. In this part of the city, there is also noticeably more vegetation, which looks nice. On the side here, there is an info screen for tourists. This asset was reused from Numbani. Here is a statue which we could have seen in Venture's trailer. Looks like it's waiting to be shipped somewhere. Now let's finally talk about the Anubis facility. These metal things on top of the pyramid probably have something to do with containing the god program inside. I understand that it is a map in a competitive PvP shooter, but it's kind of dumb that you can simply walk into the facility, there's no military checkpoint, nothing. You would think that a place of such significance would be better guarded. Anyway, inside we have what is probably one of the coolest looking set pieces in the whole game. Core of the AI god is encased in a shell designed after the Egyptian god of death, Anubis. This design was already teased at the end of the Venture's trailer on YouTube. However, before that, Anubis' appearance was basically left to our imagination. Sure, it was featured in the mission statement comic book and later in the animated short Genesis. But even these versions were different from each other, so it's just cool to see his quote-unquote canon version. We can also see that the equipment currently monitoring and containing Anubis is owned by Helix Security. On the various monitors we can see the status of the 6 pylon dampeners, which are in some way responsible for keeping Anubis in check. Monitoring station has 2 levels with what looks like the central console on top. An orange beam also connects his heart to this console, that's how you know it's important. Near the consoles, Helix were also stacking ammo, ordnance and other gear. This uniform is also featured in Farah's security officer legendary skin. Additionally, if one team captures this control point, Anubis will attempt to break containment. Above us there is a hole in the ceiling. It looks nice and lets some atmospheric light into the room. But it kinda contradicts the canon story, where a ventilation accident caused all staff members to suffocate. It's a video game, whatever. Moving on, the back of the room is pretty uninteresting. Some scaffoldings and 2 empty rooms. However, just behind this debris there's a hidden Farah Pachimari. Damn, just look at it. So, here's all the easter eggs, interesting details and lore I could find on the Throne of Anubis. There were a few references here, but I was hoping for more, considering the lore significance of this place. Visually, this map looks stunning, however it starts looking cheaper and cheaper the more you look at it. And it's for many reasons, a shit ton of reused assets from other maps like Necropolis, Temple of Anubis and Petra. They didn't remake the intro soundtrack either, and as far as I know, there's no new map specific voice lines for any of the characters. Also, on the more positive note, the red and blue colored parts of the map reminded me of Team Fortress 2. Thank you for making it to the end of this long ass video. Let us know what you think of the new map, and what map or character would you like to see in our next video. Alright, see you in the next one, cheaters. What's up, gamers? I'm scared. I'm sure it will be fine. Yeah.